Well, it looks like Goldman Sachs is starting to warn us again about the stock market. These guys are okay, man. After the thing crashes a bit, they say, hey, it might be getting a little risky. Anyway, pretty funny. And, there's other analysts out there talking about gold is not always the best safe haven going during times of financial crisis. Well, it depends on what kind of financial crisis we have. And I just go back, you see, I'm almost like, a pit bull, I bite on the stuff that's important. If you got the meat, you freaking take it, and, you spit out the garbage. Because basically, some tidbits, like I said, with George Soros taking his huge bearish bet on the S&P back in mid-August of 2013, maybe it's playing out now. Maybe this is a little too early. But, I did find that stuff interesting what Paul Volcker said about a year and a half ago about the time frame being around March 4th, or just maybe just a little tidbit after that where the stuff really falls apart if they don't fix things. And if you look at the history of Paul Volcker, he was doing stuff the Congress would have never done because he raised interest rates, correct? If you're going to tell Congress, people that get elected don't want to freaking get unelected because they did something unpopular that's going to cause a problem in the next year or two, they won't do that. Actuality, Paul Volcker back then, in the 70s when he raised interest rates, he set the stage for the freaking prosperity back in the 80s. In the 80s that came about later on. So, I guess you could have an honorable Fed chairman that's going to actually fix the whole deal. But, I almost look at all this money stuff as hocus pocus. Like, I got a copy machine right over here, right? Regular copy machine, not even a printer or laser printer. It's a copy machine sitting right over here, right? I could stuff paper in there and just print up all kinds of crap, and then I got all kinds of wealth just from doing that? Gee, I didn't know that. Really? Obviously that doesn't work. Well, there's one kind of printer I might get someday in the future. It depends on if, these printers get a little bit better high quality, and, they can print even bigger objects. But it's a metal printer. That might be something to do with your money when you actually have all this money in silver. And this is what I want to talk about because, a lot of people say, what's the next step? What do? Take fiat? Well, you're actually going to have to take fiat immediately when you sell silver. But that doesn't mean you're going to sit on fiat because, as I've been pointing out a gazillion times, there's a lot of people, I guess, anybody's on YouTube, they're not really looking for, they're more like average people. The real financial pros, they really don't go on YouTube unless they're trying to sell you their brokerage firm or go invest in me or give me a donation or buy some crap from me or something. They're not, true professionals don't really go on YouTube too much to, look for information. But actually, I have a professional background. Even though I don't talk like it, I hate talking like those people because I know a lot of times they're phonies and they're full of it. But, they talk cute and it's bullshit. It depends. They could talk cute and they know a lot of stuff, and then they could talk cute and they're full of it. A lot more of them are full of it than they are real. But, the thing is, where you want to go invest after, say, silver goes up, it's like you want to go into hard assets. If you look at the balance sheet of any, say, business, and say you think of yourself as a business, if you look at any business, they don't have most of their assets in cash. They got just enough to keep them going. And they got cash flow statements and things like that you look at every day. But they got to be producing a product that's freaking worth something to somebody. Now, sometimes I feel, well, actually, I'm going to even talk about, what I get from basically YouTube on revenue or whatever. I probably get more of it from car videos and health videos because a lot of people who watch my silver videos are not aware of the amount of freaking comments and emails and stuff that I get about advice on cars that's more complex than, the average Joe would know. Because I know a lot of stuff about mechanics. So if, you think about it, I'm offering a service here really, really cheap. And I feel good about it, So to tell you the truth, that's what I'm doing. But I'm a workaholic, so if I'm working 12 hours a day on this stuff, researching, or more, 7 days a week, it's probably going to make some money, and I just hope I don't get resentment from freaking people because I'm a straight shooter. I don't bullshit around, and I give out. I don't play drama. I don't play drama. You know, because I know sometimes people try to look up, well, what do you make? Are you making money because you're pumping silver? No, 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 man. I'm actually, it's probably on the car videos because people ask me questions that are, I actually have a pretty good mechanical hat on one side besides the financial hat, but I've never worked professionally as a mechanic. It's kind of been a hobby. Just to give you a little more background, my dad used to tell me, you should have been a mechanic, man. My dad used to say that shit. He said, how the hell you know all this shit? I said, I don't know. Maybe it's just, the way my head works. It seems like I ain't bad at this stuff, But that helps me with finance, too. Because I see a lot of stuff these clowns don't see that are total desk jockeys. And I don't like using that word because, it's almost like people think, if you're just sitting there, you're not doing any physical manual labor. But, there's a lot of more complexity behind it and pressure on the brain than you think. But, I know a lot of that area, too. I mean, I could put up spreadsheets and charts and shit like you couldn't believe. I actually know a lot of advanced Excel and Access database type things that a lot of people don't know. I've worked with some of the most complex accounting systems and tapped into them with Access database, wrote the special reports with the special report writer, and did many things that a lot of people, that had all these, MBA, CPA type certificates didn't understand because they had a very strong mathematical background. But that's a game too in itself. You can actually play games with shit like that and sell people garbage. And I don't play that game either. I'm very much, ain't a broker, none of that stuff. But I just want to tell you, average person, when you get like a lot of money on silver, say later on, what do you invest in? Do you invest in cash? No, you don't. You want to go into other hard assets. And you actually want to look at durable, quality, hard assets. Now, for instance, if you're not a business and you're a homeowner, you might want to even look at quality furniture. Because quality furniture can last you a gazillion years. In other words, buying cheap stuff, it's like classic. You can look at furniture from like the 1920s that's not even made anywhere near as good today as it was done back then. You might invest in something like that. You might say, how is that an investment? But it's something you can enjoy for a lifetime. Damn it, you understand? Now, some other things too. I was getting a little curious about some of these. I mentioned about printers and printing money, which I can't do, but that's exactly what the Federal Reserve does. But one printer out there that is a cool printer to probably invest in might be the metal printer, and I think it needs a little more time before it gets a little bit better at what it does because I've read the reviews on them. Some are good, some of them are bad. But something like that, as you can actually be a skilled entrepreneur in any kind of endeavor and use that type of thing to make up things that you would have to run to, some supplier to buy. You can just make it yourself. It could be in an automotive sector, the plumbing sector, the construction sector, or whatever the hell it is. You can actually print up these items if they're made out of metal, stainless steel, and all this kind of garbage. So there's a lot of cool stuff that you can actually invest in. And what the key thing is, when you reinvest in anything, you want it to be a quality asset that's going to provide a long life, and it's going to be very durable. Like, in other words, when you're talking durable capital goods, you want an emphasis on durable. In other words, high quality. And, that's actually what's going to bring back the economy because, all this numbers garbage is a pile of fluff. It's amazing. I just want to give an example. Like you say Detroit is all screwed up, right? You say the town of Detroit's all screwed up. Now, I mean, to say this is ludicrous. Like, I'm going to give an example. But if every person out there just went outside and just tidied up the whole area, you know what I mean, and bought a gallon of paint for something that was highly durable and did something in the city, you would look at a transformation inside of not even a week that would amaze people, and it wouldn't even require any governmental expenditures. The problem is, everybody's focused in on the numbers and the government fixing things when they ought to just roll up their sleeves and fix it themselves. So, to tell you the truth, though, I ain't worried about people that don't think like that because What I think is the actual collapse when it comes up is going to be mainly on those type of people. The truly industrious, the truly innovative, and the truly hardworking are not going to suffer collapse as long as you kind of know what's coming up. Like Warren Buffett has warned us one time about beware of paper currencies. That's quite obvious where the next bubble's coming in because of the debt. I mean, it's obvious as all hell, right? And this is the thing I want to put out there too, because this is my own thing. It's like I use the example. There's going to be a crisis, and I said they're going to fix it. You're not going to fix it. They're going to, fix it so it lasts a little longer, like that type of stuff. It's like the engine needs a whole total tear down and rebuild. They might fix one part of it without taking the engine out and doing the whole thing correct. Give that kind of example. Or they might add some kind of additive, or to back off the timing or something. I don't know what the hell they're doing. You know what I mean? They'll do something to make it work a little bit longer, but it needs an overhaul. But the problem is there's no such thing as a system that makes it right. It's the people themselves that freaking make the situation right. And where people freaking get screwed up is they buy into the bullshit that's thrown to them. I don't even want to call it by the major media. Let's call it Hollywood. Because marketing in Hollywood are like the two biggest things going, where people in the United States go, spend, 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 have fun now. Oh, what are you going to do? Die and take it with you and all this kind of crap. You know what I mean? And those are the kind of people that get in a hurt locker, and then all of a sudden it's like they're crying about their victim. Oh, fuck, you screwed it. You know what I mean? The hell with them. The hell with them, But when you go to reinvest and you have a gain on silver, I think there is going to be a gain on silver, because these jerks are freaking they're downplaying it now. I don't trust them. Actually, Goldman Sachs has been buying physical gold since the crash in April of 2013. They've been buying physical gold. I'm repeating this every freaking time because I say it on all of them every time and time again. The 6 largest bullion banks, they're net long gold as of May 2013. But what's the next move? And you might see some really expensive, hard, durable assets now. You might even be in the housing sector. But don't expect the housing sector to take off like a rocket. But say, for instance, you're a renter or whatever, you might be able to buy a house cheap. Or you might be able to buy a house and rent the house. Now, that's not a perfect proposition, because renters can be a pain in the ass unless you're dealing with retired people or something like that. So, it's up to you what you want to do with that. But you can also buy land, farmland, or, land that's in a resort area or something, or a potential resort area that may go up. You might have word that this is going to be the skiing resort, or this is going to be where Disney's going to build or something like that, and buy that type of land and invest and speculate, and maybe you might do well. But, the one thing is, if you buy land, you got to watch for the reoccurring maintenance fees and, and the taxation. So that's another thing. Actually, if I had my choice, boy, not that I want to deal with this shit, but it's almost like it would pay to go to 6 months of school to learn how to be a pastor and live tax-free for the rest of my life and do the work of Jesus. I've been highly critical of those type of people in the past, and there's a reason for it, because I think a lot of them are totally full of it. Anyway, it's, in other words, if everybody should be a pastor, then we won't have to worry about paying taxes. That'd be great, right? We could all be working for Jesus and the Lord. Anyway, or whatever, whatever religion you want to pick. So, anyway, but, it looks like there's a lot of cracks in the system coming up here, and, nobody's going to really have the balls to fix it. You got to have a lot of respect for Paul Volcker, because, like I said, if the Congress was voting back then in the 70s to raise interest rates, and he raised them up to, I think, 21% briefly, they went that high, they would never do that, because they'd be afraid of voting for something that would cause them to lose an election. And, I don't know if we got anybody like that anymore in the Federal Reserve. I mean, it's Janet Yellen. Is she going to do that type of stuff? She can't, actually. She busts the government. They can't do that right now. So basically, it's a mathematical certainty that there's going to be problems with the U.S. currency. But does that mean there's going to be like a true financial collapse? Absolutely not if you're industrious. That's the whole deal. That's the whole deal in a nutshell. Because, like I said, it's probably, people have actually smarted and right now bought silver and gold. They're probably going to see their assets go way the hell up. I suspect, and I'm going to repeat this again, I think that silver and gold are going to have a very good year this year. If they have an extremely good year, if they go to all-time records, I bet you they come back down. Not to these levels. Not to these levels, but they correct. It's like, in other words, even though fundamentally they probably should be that high, they will come back down before we really have a run-up, and it may be a few years from now. That's what I suspect. But, the big question is, what after silver and gold? Look at hard, quality, durable assets. Actually, if you're any of the skilled entrepreneurs out there, if you do... you're a plumber, you're a roofer, you do framing, you do mechanical work, body work, you might want to look into these metal printers because the technology is probably going to get much, much better. I've seen some of the ones that are costing about $8,000 today. They will print objects up to 2 feet wide, 8 feet long, over 8 feet long, and 10 inches deep out of metal. And just think about that, and you could be your own... entrepreneurial factory right there, producing products that are custom for people at a profit. So, but there's always going to be a medium of exchange, and if the dollar is not going to collapse that fast, even when you look at Great Britain turned into the UK, the British pound lost its world currency reserve status. The British pound did not go away, did it? And also, I want to leave you with this note, where I think it's all going to lead is actually a great war. It's not something being negative or fear mongering, but the reality is, whenever there's a governmental crisis, they almost always go to war, man. They almost always go to war. So that's pretty much going to be the given. Now, if the war does not go good for the United States, then that would maybe be the end of the dollar for sure. Then. But not until that time. So if we have a big crisis this year, it will not be the end of the dollar. I used the word collapse. I probably should have used the word crisis or something. Probably should have used the word crisis for the U.S. dollar this year. It's going to be in crisis. But they will fix, and as I say fixed, in other words, patch over the problems, not do a complete overhaul, and extend the life of the dollar for a little longer. But as you make money on it's not really making money, as the silver and gold asset bubbles inflate, they will inflate. They will go past the fundamentals. What do you trade it in for? Other hard, durable goods, and choose carefully. It could be, if you were just a homeowner, you might want to get all new furniture and carpet, because maybe there'll be, there may be super sales on that stuff at that time, because the economy is so bad that people aren't buying furniture and carpet. I mean, you might think it's a frivolous thing, but maybe it's not a frivolous thing, because if you buy high quality, it lasts a long time. And it actually is improving, the asset, your house itself. So as an individual homeowner, you might want to do that. You might want to do that. Because some of those things might be screaming deals at the time. And that's pretty much what happens during inflation. Inflation occurs in necessary items like food and energy, and in big ticket items, durable goods that people could stave off for a little bit longer. Usually you see, the prices come down. Now, some economists call this disinflation, but it's inflation. It's inflation, because when you have hyperinflation, it's always in those sectors of the economy that people cannot do without. And what happens is their money goes all into that, and their money does not get spent on big ticket durable items. So if you have the asset bubble going on in silver and gold at that time, you might want to sell some of that, and maybe that's not an ongoing producing asset for you. But then again, it may be a future outlay of cash that you don't have to put out. So I'm gearing this towards the average person when I'm giving this out, this advice. I'm gearing this towards the average person. Because otherwise, there's a lot of other stuff that, if I was dealing with an entrepreneur, it would be very different. It would be very different. So I'm gearing this to the average person. And you might want to invest in other big ticket, durable items that could actually benefit you for a long period of time. You might even want to look into solar power. You might even want to look into that. Although I have not done that because I think the prices of the solar power are going to come down exponentially because they already have patents out for solar panels that are 90% efficient. And in other words, it's going to be like not under $1 a watt. It's going to be under $1 for 100 watts. That's what I think it's going to go. So energy is going to get real cheap. It's going to get real cheap. So anyway, you might want to invest in some other things like that, or even something to, where one place they're probably going to charge you a lot of money for on an ongoing basis is water, and you might want to do something with that, where you can actually purify water and that type of stuff, or even invest in a built-in swimming pool. Sounds crazy, but you could probably that might not be a bad thing to do. Because in the future, if water turns out to be a highly precious commodity, having a large built-in swimming pool is going to be like having a pool of liquid gold. It may be that you can enjoy. How's that? How's that for advice? So think outside the box. And like I said, most people on YouTube who listen to me are not professionals because I would be gearing my advice totally different to them. And I don't really want to tell people, click this, click that stock, go buy this, go click that, and this and that. Because basically, people who are traders are leeches too. You're leeches too. Actually, I think if you are going to be a trader, you should be a gambler. And you should go find yourself a nice poker table in a back room of a casino and roll up your sleeves and go gamble. Because I think that would be a far more honorable type trade. I don't actually have much respect for traders, and I don't have much respect for brokers either. But I do understand that gold and silver and other hard assets like that are going to be stellar investments for the future. Very, very, very soon to come future.